Socrates, you seek logic, but you have not yet found the ultimate truth. Our souls are created by Allah, and they will return to Him. I invite you to the path of Islam. Think about it one last time, Socrates.
Is the search for truth meant to reach a final destination, or is it an endless journey? If I love truth, must I then accept any belief without question?
The truth is, Allah created us, and the soul drives our body. After death, the soul will remain, but the body will perish.
Then tell me, if the soul is immaterial, how does it influence the body? If the soul exerts force on the particles of the body, Newtonian mechanics won't apply, because then we'd need to divide physics into two branches, one for objects moved by the soul, like humans, and another for inanimate soulless matter. Can we then say that one kind of physics applies to the atoms in a human body and another to the atoms in a stone?
This is a matter of Allah's will.
All right, then let me tell you a story from history. Have you heard of the discussion between Descartes and Elizabeth?
No, say it.
Princess Elizabeth was the Princess of Bohemia. She was the granddaughter of King James I of England and deeply interested in philosophy. She challenged Descartes' theory of dualism, mind-body dualism. Descartes had said that the soul and body are two different entities, but they interact with one another. Elizabeth then asked, how can an immaterial substance affect a physical object?
What did Descartes answer?
Descartes initially said that the soul influences the body through the pineal gland.
Then the explanation becomes clear.
But is that a logical explanation?
Why not?
Because it feels more like a way of dodging the question. If the soul is not material, how can it exert force on neurons? And if it can apply force to neurons, then it behaves like matter, which cancels out dualism. Elizabeth's objection was so significant that in the end, Descartes had to refer to the will of God as the cause.
Exactly. Allah's will is the cause of everything.
So tell me, what is will?
Will is the mental inclination to do something, which guides decisions and actions.
But is will itself a causal force, or merely a psychological process that determines how one will respond to pre-existing nature?
In humans, it is only a mental process, but in the case of Allah,
is God's will both a mental process and a causal force?
Yes, Allah's will is also a causal force.
To be a causal force, must it necessarily be part of the chain of causality? Or can something outside that chain still be a cause? Can we even call something a causal force if it lies beyond cause and effect?
It must certainly be part of the chain. To be outside the chain is to be unrelated to cause and effect. If a force is claimed as a cause but is not linked by the chain of causality to the result, then we cannot call it a causal force.
If God's will itself is a causal force, is it inside or outside the existing chain of causes?
Even when the existing causal chain didn't exist, Allah's will existed. Therefore, the causal force named Allah's will lies outside the causal chain.
Didn't you say that something beyond the causal chain cannot be called a causal force? Then how can God's will be a causal force?
I was trying to say that myself.
Now tell me, just for the sake of argument, even if we assume God's will is a causal force, is it metaphysical or material?
Metaphysical, not material.
Is there not a contradiction here, just like the one Elizabeth pointed out in Descartes' dualism? If Newtonian mechanics works equally on atoms in both rocks and humans, and the soul exerts no force on the human body's particles, then can we not also say that God's will does not act as a causal force on the particles of the universe? Tell me, Abu Hanifa, isn't it impossible for something metaphysical to interact with something material? Do you really believe these two opposing philosophical categories can be united by the same chain of causality?
Allah is omnipotent. If He wills, He can press these two opposite philosophical categories together and make them one.
Abu Hanifa, you're mixing everything up. These two philosophical categories can't be united, they are by definition opposites. Your Allah is starting to sound like King Midas, who could not touch anything without transforming it. Whatever he touched turned to gold. Likewise, if you want to place your Allah as the cause and the universe as the effect within the same chain of causality, then either both must be metaphysical or both must be material.
All right, I understand now. Allah brought the universe into existence from nothing without even considering the chain of causality. He said, "Kun fire, be," and it is. That's it. Loud and clear. Allah is beyond cause and effect, beyond consequences.
What's this? Hanifa's father. All your life you've said Allah is the first cause. But if He's beyond causality, then how is He the first cause? What kind of flip-flop is this?
No. Allah is both the first cause and also beyond the chain of causality.
Can something that contains two contradictory attributes at the same time even exist?
No. Allah is both the possible and the impossible, both at once.
Can something be both possible and impossible at the same time and still be possible?
Allah is simultaneously,